Good morning to everyone. Our today topic is environmental impact assessment, methods and benefits. This is also one of the topic of the subject environment and ecological sustainability or environmental studies. So let us begin environmental impact assessment. As we know, to improve the quality of human life, it is required to provide greater opportunity for the employment, better provision for basic amenities and comforts, healthy environment, ensuring physical and mental well-being of humans. For this, we need the development and the growth. We need the industry, we need the infrastructure. For the growth and development but the growth and development lead to several environmental problems like air, water, and soil pollution, depletion of natural resources, occupational health problems, and global problems like climate change, ozone layer depletion, and loss of biodiversity. Thus, development is bound to have certain environmental impacts. That's why we used to say that when the population is increasing, definitely the pollution is also going to increase. We need the development, and development definitely have impacts on the environment. So few years back, it was realized that before development of any projects, prediction and assessment of its impact should be carried out so that measures could be taken to minimize the impacts of projects on surrounding. And hence, development should be based on the sustainability principles. What do you mean by sustainable principles of sustainable development? Means aiming to grow judicious use of resources, maybe the natural resources, with minimum damage to the environment. This concept was formulated as a systematic procedures known as environmental impact assessment. So we can define the environmental impact assessment. It is a systematic process used to identify, predict, evaluate, and mitigate the potential environmental, social, economic impacts of the proposed projects or a development activities before they are carried out. That means whenever we are going to construct any industries or we are going to start any development projects, before that we have to know what type of environmental impacts are going to take place once the development work is completed. So what we can say here, it ensures that makers to consider environmental consequences at an early stage of project planning and design, hence promoting sustainable development. In India, Gazette notification on EIA was issued in 1994, white, uh, which the Ministry of Environment and Forest provided guidelines for project proponents to have EIA and prepare an environmental impact statement prior to clearance of the any projects. So whatever the projects we are going to start, before that we have to go for environmental impact assessment. Next, we should know what are the objectives or goals of EIA to fulfill the responsibility towards the coming generation as the representatives of the environment, to assure safe, healthy, productive, aesthetically as well as the culturally pleasing surroundings, to provide widest range of beneficial uses of environment without degradation or risk to health, to preserve historical, cultural, and natural heritage, to achieve a balance between the population and resource use for good standard of living, to ensure sustainable development with minimum environmental degradations. So these are the goals of or objectives of environmental impact assessment. Now we have to know what we mean by the environmental impact statement. The environmental impact assessment is a formal, detailed document that describes the potential environmental effects of a proposed project, plan, or policy before it is approved or carried out. It is the report that presents the findings of the environmental impact assessment. Based on the EIA, draft EIS prepared to formally communicate the environmental impacts, alternatives, and mitigation measures to decision makers and the public. It is used as the basis for approval, rejection, or modification of the projects. After evaluation and review of the environmental assessment by the Environmental Assessment Agency, the final EIS is prepared, and final EIS is the decision document in which the feedbacks are incorporated for the approval. So what we can say here, the whenever we are going to talk about the EIS, environmental impact statement, it is nothing but it is the report. That report is related to the environmental impact assessment. So whatever the assessment we have carried out for any development projects, it has to be framed, or it has to be formed in the report, in the form of a report, right? So that report is called as environmental impact assessment. So environmental impact statements, and it is in the form of a draft EIS, right? So draft EIS is normally it is proposed, or it is submitted first for the environmental clearance, and after getting the feedback from the decision makers or the publics, then the modification is made in the report, and the final EIS is prepared. See, remember please, impact assessment agency means in this case, normally the after preparation of the draft EIS based on the EIA, this is kept among the meeting. It is uh, placed among the meeting. In that meeting, the State Pollution Control Board, maybe Central Pollution Control Board, district administrations, and local peoples are present to give the feedbacks. Then only the final EIS is prepared. Next, we can see normally while preparing the EIS, what are the various parameters to be incorporated in EIS report, or we can say these are the parameters which we normally carry out at the time of EIA, environmental impact assessment. So we collect the data pertaining to these parameters. For example, air pollution and dispersion along with possible health effects, water pollution including surface and groundwater pollution, noise pollution, whether the project or development project or proposed project is going to have any type of air pollution, water pollution, or noise pollution, effects on land, including land degradation and maintenance, deforestation or compulsory afforestation is needed or not, loss of flora and fauna due to project during construction, socioeconomic impacts, including displacement of native people, cultural loss, and health aspects. Risk analysis and disaster management is going to happen due to the projects. So recycling and reduction of the waste, efficient use of input, including energy and matter. So these parameters needs to be studied during the EIA, environmental impact assessment, and it has to be placed in the form of a report, which is called as EIS, draft EIS. Only after the getting the feedback from the administration, right, or from the local people, we have to go for the final EIS. So now we can see here, while carrying out the EIA, what we have to do, what we have to think. EIA is done with an aim to select the best alternative through which adverse impact on the environment can be minimized without compromising with the economic and social benefits of the development projects. So what are the alternatives that has to be taken care of during the EIA? Alternative technology providing options with maximum energy efficiency and minimum waste generation. The next alternative, mitigating or controlling mechanism through which recycling of byproducts or reduction of emission can take place. Alternating phasing to work should be worked out. If phasing of the project is possible, instead of one stroke, development to avoid drastic impact. the phasing wise work also needs to be done if required. So alternative site for the proposed projects. So for any development projects, at the time of EIA, these alternatives should be considered so that the development projects would not harm to the environment. However, the most important alternative taken into consideration in EIA is the impact assessment at alternative sites, right? Most important is alternative sites. We have to we have to choose the alternative sites. We have to carry out the EIA at a different site. And then we have to finalize which site is suitable for this type of the projects or the industries so that it will not have impact on the environment. So that is which of the site, either site 1 or site 2 or site 3 located in different natural area would have the least impact of the development project in the surrounding area. The main purpose of EIA is precisely to estimate the type and level of damage. Which type of damage is going to take place due to the coming projects caused to the natural environment in a well-defined time scale so that remedial measures can be initiated on those aspects requiring action at the right time. Next, we can see what are the EIA methodology or methods or process or procedures. What actually, whenever we are going to carry out EIA for any development projects, what steps we have to follow? That is mentioned here. So let us begin one by one. The first step which we have to carry out as far as the EIA is concerned is a screening. A screening means it is done to see whether the project needs on an EIA or clearance or not. So that also we have to find out in the beginning whether that project or the any development project needs environmental needs EIA or not. EIA is required for this project or not. That we have to find out, which comes under the screening. So further, there are some prohibited areas where generally development projects are not allowed. For example, Coastal Regulation Zone, Dahanu Taluka in Maharashtra, declared ecologically sensitive by Ministry of Environment and Forest. Arauli Range, it is mountain range in northern West India, running approximately 670 kilometers southwest directions, reserve forest. So these points should also be taken care of for the development projects because in this area it is not allowed. Any project construction is not allowed. Any development work is not allowed. The next method is scoping. That means it involves determination of extent of EIA required. Which type of EIA is required for a particular development projects? Depending upon the project, basically two types of EIA may be carried out. When the report is based on a single season data, except monsoon period, it is called a rapid EIA. Sometimes for any development projects, one season data is required, right? What are the various data we need? We have seen in the EIS in the previous slides. So that is called as rapid EIA. When the EIA report is based on the detailed seasonal data, is called as comprehensive EIA. So next steps in the EIA methodology, the baseline data. It gives a holistic picture of overall environmental setting of the project's location. The following environmental parameters are usually considered while preparing the baseline data. So in case of baseline data, these are the data which we have to collect during the EIA. So first is the site location and topography, regional demography. That means population distribution within 10 and 15 kilometer radius, land use patterns, water use patterns. That also we have to study in this baseline data. Regional landmarks like historical or cultural heritage in that area. For this, archaeological or state register can be checked or can be contacted. Archaeological department can also be contacted for this. Regional landmarks, hydrology, groundwater and surface water resources are quantified. Water quality is also studied. right? What are the various types of pollution sources which may contaminate the surface or groundwater? Geology of that area should also be carried out. Geological map, rock type, bedrock. Meteorology, temperature extremes, wind speed, wind direction, dew point, atmospheric stability, the rainfall, storms are also recorded. Ecology, flora and fauna. Is there any species are going to be endangered? Succession stage are enlisted. So this comes under the baseline data. Remember that what it says that for a particular project, some of the parameters may be important, while others may not be important. So depending upon the type of development projects, we have to carry out this. We have to carry out this study, or we have to collect the baseline data. Some project may not need all these data, but some projects may need all the data in details. So next step we can say impact identifications. So during identification process, positive, whether the development project is going to have positive and negative, direct or indirect effect, significant or insignificant impacts, that should also be considered during the EIA. Impact predictions. So magnitude, here magnitude of change is going to occur due to the projects predicted by mathematical models. We use the mathematical models to find out what type of impacts are going to occur during by these development projects. Impact evaluation is done by considering the costs and benefits of the projects, whether it is a long-term effects or a side effects or projects are based on that projects are evaluated. Indirect evaluation of environmental parameters, loss of rare species, degradation of lakes. So this comes under the impact evaluation. The next we can see mitigation. Once the impacts are predicted and evaluated, mitigation measures are to be suggested to avoid, reduce, or rectify the adverse changes due to the project. So review and draft impact statement is prepared at this stage. So as we have studied that EIA and EIS are correlated to each other. EIA is the data collection, and once you are going to prepare the report, that is called as environmental impact statement. So up to here, that means up to the 7 points, we have to compile the reports, right, in the form of a document that is called a draft impact assessment. Next, we can see the decision analysis. As I told you, once you are going to prepare the draft EIS, that has to be placed among the public, right? So this for the decision purpose, for the feedback. So public participation is involved by arranging group discussion or by adopting questionnaire method to arrive at a decision about the project and its evaluation. Environmental impact assessment based on the data obtained or reviewed. Suggestions. A final EIS is prepared as per the format provided by the Ministry of Environment and Forest in our country. So after completion of EIA, we have to finalize the EIS. EIS clearly mentions the objective of the projects, environmental impacts, impacts that are unavoidable, mitigation measures to minimize the impacts, alternatives to the proposed actions. Alternatives should also be mentioned in the EIS, Environmental Impact Assessment report. So environmental audit, the next last point comes here. It compares the impacts predicted in EIS before the project was started and actual impacts after the implementation of the project. So the EIA, the environmental audit comes after the completion of the project. And that means once the project is going to start, then we have to go for the environmental audit. Next, we can see what are the advantages of EIA. So first advantage you can see identifying potential environmental impacts. So once you are going to carry out the EIA, definitely for a particular projects, we can identify what are the potential environmental impacts. So EIA is a forward-looking tool that systematically assess proposed projects and develop. By doing so, it defines potential environmental impacts before they occur. This foresight enables the decision maker to take preventive measures, mitigate harm, and protect natural resources. Definitely, it acts as an environment early warning system. This is one of the major advantage of EIA, we can say. Early warning system means whether the development project is going to have any impact on the environment or on the society or in in the surrounding area. So, or it acts as an early warning system. Next is the protecting natural resources and ecosystem. So, EIA is instrumental in safeguarding our planet, natural resources and ecosystem. By equating the potential impacts of the development projects, EIA can identify areas of high ecological importance that also we can identify by carrying out the EIA. This allows for protective measures or regulation to be put in place. Furthermore, EIA also requires our developers to implement measures that will enhance local biodiversity or restore damaged habitats. So protective measures can be put in place with the help of EIA. So next point we can see, next advantage is promoting sustainable development. This is one of the major advantages of the EIA. EIA is aligned with the principle of sustainable development. It ensures that projects are not just economically viable, but also environmentally and socially responsible. So by promoting projects that respect the carrying capacity of the environments, EIA helps to create a more sustainable future. Engaging stakeholders and public, that is also one of the advantages. At the time of once you are going to place the draft EIS, then the stakeholders or the publics are going to be involved. EIA is a transparent process that encourages stakeholders and public engagement by involving various parties like local communities to environmental organizations. Even we are calling the NGOs also during after submission of the draft EIS, a meeting is carried out, right? And in that case, stakeholders, the public, administrations, pollution control boards, all are involved during the after submission of the draft EIS. So EIA ensures diverse perspectives are considered. This inclusivity not only strengthens the decision-making process, but also increases public awareness and understanding environmental issues. Definitely, at the time of the meeting with the local communities, the awareness due to these development projects also takes place. The advantage of EIA are fundamental to responsible and ethical development, and they extend to minimizing environmental harm and preserving our planet's natural treasures. So these are about the advantages, but some disadvantages are also there by the EIA. Let us see, while EIA offers various benefits, it's important to acknowledge its limitations and potential drawbacks are also there. So first first disadvantage is time and cost implications. Conducting a thorough EIA can be time consuming and costly. Suppose you are going for comprehensive EIA, definitely it will take 1 year time. So it involves data collection, analysis, public consultation, and compliance with regulatory process. Delay in assessment phase can result in project postponements, increased expenses. This is also possible. This time and cost implication can be burdensome for project proponents. So this is also one of the disadvantages. Subjectivity and complexity of the assessment. Because the EIA definitely creates the complexity during the assessment. It takes time. EIA requires expert judgment to assess potential environments. So we need the expert people. This subjectivity can lead to variation in interpretation and finding. The complexity of environmental system can also make assessment difficult, at times open to different interpretations. As a result, there may be debates about the accuracy of the assessment because many expert people are going to have interpretation separately. In that case, there may be debates, right? So it may cause the delay in the project development. The next disadvantage we can see potential conflicts and delays. EIA can uncover conflicting interests among their stakeholders, including project proponents, local communities, environmental groups, and regulatory bodies. So this conflict may also occur, right? Once you are going to place the draft EIS. This may also happen. So disagreement over the significance of environmental impacts or the adequacy of the mitigation measures can lead to the project delays or even legal disputes. This is also a problem. Challenging long-term impact predictions. Predicting the long-term environmental impacts of projects can be challenging. So that means, suppose the EIA team wants to assess the long-term effect of any development projects. It is very challenging. Why it is challenging? You can see here factors like climate change, evolving ecosystem, and population shifts can influence how impact manifest over time, going to change over time. So EIA may not fully account for these dynamic variables, which can affect the accuracy of long-term impact predictions. It is essential to consider these advantages within the broader context of the area. So, in this topic, what we have studied, we can see how we can define EIA, what are the goals of EIA, what do you mean by the environmental impact assessment, points to be incorporated in EIS, that also we discussed. That means while preparing the EIS, which is the document with the report, what are the various points should be considered during the EIA. So alternative assessment needs to be conducted during EIA. That also we studied in this lecture. And we also discuss in detail about the methods of the EIA and what are the advantage and disadvantage of EIA. We are also explained in this lecture. Thank you.